Hey, this is Mr. Burton. I'm going to go over the basics of constructions in geometry. And we're not talking about like road constructions or building constructions, but drawings that we make using compasses and straight edges. So the compass actually draws circles or parts of circles depending on how much you draw. Part of a circle is called an arc, and you can see that the center of this circle, if I drew the whole thing, is where my sharp tip is, and then pencil draws the actual circle itself, or the circumference of the circle. But I don't have to draw a whole circle. I can just draw a little bit. I can draw a half circle. I can move it. These are all going to be the same size radius because I haven't spread my compass out any further, but I can do that to make it a larger circle. So if I extend it so that it's wider, I'm going to get a much larger circle with a larger radius. So constructions are all about identifying the most important points in the initial object, drawing arcs that are the same size radius, so without adjusting the distance between your sharp point and your pencil, and then finally the most important thing probably is creating the two new intersection points from these arcs that overlap. So when it comes to doing constructions, it's all about identifying the most important points, usually two, sometimes just one. And the name of the game is always, which 2 points should I be interested in? So let's look at the perpendicular bisector construction. First thing we want to do is identify what are the two most important points on the segment PH, and those are the endpoints. So it's a good idea to take a highlighter, at least in the beginning, but preferably always, and highlight the two most important points, P and H. Second thing we're going to do is take the sharp point of our compass and put it on one of these two highlighted parts. In order to do the perpendicular bisector construction, we need to stretch our compass so that it is more than halfway across the segment. If it's more than halfway, we're good, but if it's too short, we're not going to get our circles to overlap. And we said that one of the most important things in constructions is getting arcs to overlap or intersect. So if my circle is short like this, they're not going to overlap. So I need to extend it and make sure that it's past the middle in order for those two circles to overlap. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw a half circle. Constructions are all about swinging these half circles from the two most important points. Now I'm going to pick it up and move it because I've already drawn the half circle at P. I'm going to move it to H, and I'm going to draw another half circle, or part of a circle. When you do this, you should notice that there are two new points that we've created. There's one right here, and one right here. And I need to connect these two with a line. And that's going to form the perpendicular bisector. The perpendicular bisector is a line, but you can just draw a segment if you want. And this is a little harder to do on the screen than it is on paper. So this line is called the perpendicular bisector because it not only is perpendicular to the original line segment, creates a 90-degree angle, but it also cuts the segment into two equal parts. So the distance from P to the middle, I'm going to call it M, the midpoint, is the same as from M to H. So the two most important points to start were P and H, but we created these two new ones in the process of swinging my half circles. The angle bisector construction is similar stepwise, it's just with an angle instead of a segment. So the first thing we have to do is identify the most important part of the angle, and hopefully you've seen the angle basics video or the naming video, and you know that the most important point is the vertex O. So that's where we have to start our compass. So I'm going to pick it up and move it so that the sharp point is on O, and if I don't extend it, I'm not going to draw any circle at all, it's just going to be a dot. So I have to extend it so that it draws a circle. The first one doesn't really matter so much. I just need it to create or touch the angle at two different points. Those points become really important to me because I drew them. So, like you said, it's all about identifying the most important point or points. And now that I have two new points, I'm going to take my compass and move them to each of these two new points. And I am going to draw a half circle. Nice big half circle. So since I've done it from this point at the top left, I'm going to move it down to the other new point, the point that I made, and I'm going to also draw a half circle from there. So once again, hopefully you're starting to see that, okay, well now that I have two green circles, or half circles, or arcs that are overlapping, and that point becomes really important to me. I'm going to connect this point to the original point, the vertex O, and that's bisecting, or cutting this angle in half. Bisect means to cut into two equal parts. So I'm going to connect O to this new point, and I can extend it so that it goes forever and ever, or I could just end it there. But what it does is it creates two angles that are congruent to each other, one on top and one on bottom. This angle is congruent to this angle. Or if you want to use naming, I have to give this point a name. Let's call it K. So DOK, which is an angle, is congruent to angle KOG. Those two angles are the same size. The last construction, or basic construction, I'm going to show you is to just simply copy a line segment. It's probably the easiest, and I just wanted to save it for the end because it's a little bit too easy if you ask me. First thing you're going to do is identify the most important points of the segment MA, which is clearly going to be M and A, your two endpoints. You take your compass and you move one endpoint so that it is on, the sharp point is on M or A. Then you're going to extend the other one such that the pencil is exactly, or as best as you can, exactly on A. So if you want to test that this is the correct distance apart, you can draw a little circle or arc through A. And so now if we want to take this and copy this length down, all I need is a dot down here to start with. So I'm going to take my pen, create a dot. And now if I want to make a segment congruent to MA, I'm just going to simply take my compass without adjusting it and just slide it down here so that the sharp point is on this new dot. And I'm going to draw an arc. And so the distance from the dot to the arc is the same for MA. And so I can say that this segment is congruent to the original one, MA, and I show that with two dash marks. So go ahead and practice on your own, and we're just going to practice highlighting because you can't really construct these without a compass at home. So just start by highlighting the most important points for numbers 1 and 2 in order to bisect the two objects. And then for 3 and 4, I want you to try to practice what were the two initial points in these constructions, because that's sometimes a hard task.